Teaching a beginning birding group how to adjust binoculars. And I am dedicating this to those beginning their adventure into nature observation. And that includes the docent trainees at Upper Newport Bay. So I'll give you a little bit of an introduction. Most organized birding field trips, and there are a lot of them, but not during the pandemic, expect participants to have their own optics. And you can invest quite a bit of money in that. However, some training field trips for future docents, school group field trips, and some public field trips, where you don't expect people to have their own binoculars, may have loaner binoculars available for participants and spotting scopes to share among the group, which are even more expensive. For the birding beginners, this may be the first time they have used optical equipment, and it may prove challenging to them. So organized birding field trips generally do not spend time on how to adjust binoculars for the group, either the ones brought or the loaners, and that's where this video hopefully comes in. My goal is to help you set up binoculars for your individual comfort needs. And we look at three major adjustments, either your own or loaners. And that's what I do at the beginning of my docent training class field trips. However, along the way, I will point out some mechanical and optical flaws that you might run into with your binoculars and which you might be able to fix or not. Be careful. Especially if they're expensive binoculars. Are they in warranty? Send them in for repair. Using binocular repair videos on YouTube. Now, I know we're in the pandemic. This is March of 2021. I'm hoping that we'll get to normal soon. It depends on whether you get vaccinated, observe social distancing, and wear a mask if recommended. I have seen some field trips during this time with stringent rules. Don't share birding equipment. Even if you brought a spotting scope with you, do not let other people use your equipment. And don't carpool. You know, lots of stringent requirements. And organizations have a large investment in loaner binoculars and scopes. What are they going to do when things open up? And I think they might consider wiping non-glass surfaces with a disinfectant wipe and telling people not to share their equipment. So if you do have binoculars, and I assume you're beginners, where do they come from? Are they hand-me-downs? Are they garage sale? Are they opera glasses? Exactly. What sort of binoculars do you have? And are they suitable for nature observation and birding? I put together some possible characteristics of a good birding binocular. Any binocular can work as long as it's functioning and is in good shape. You want something lightweight. You don't want to bring comet chaser astronomy binoculars. Center focusing, close focusing, wide field of view, long eye relief. We'll define that later. 7 or 8 power magnification. You don't want high magnification. 40 to 50 millimeter front lenses. Although a number of people use these smaller binoculars, and they're good for birding, infrequently perhaps. All binoculars have trade-offs, and there are some trade-offs using those smaller ones, but a lot of people use them. And prisms with high quality glass. So if you want additional information on binoculars and specifications, more insight into that, I have an hour and 51-minute two-part video on YouTube called Understanding, Using, and Fixing Binoculars, Fixing with Cautions, a Virtual Laboratory. So we're going to look at 3 things that you should be able to adjust on binoculars for you to use them effectively. And that's the distance between the oculars, the eyepieces, eye cups, and how to adjust oculars for your own comfort. Let's look at the distance between your eyes. Well, I found this, that the average adult distance is 63 millimeters, but as you can see, it ranges quite a bit. It ranges quite a bit. So you don't expect one size fits all for manufacturers of binoculars. Instead, there should be some way of adjusting the distance between the oculars. And you can see this binocular, you can adjust the distance quite a bit, quite a bit. So how do you do that? Well, what we're looking for is this interocular distance, and some binoculars, especially older ones, have this interocular scale. That's a scale in millimeters. The idea that if you knew your distance between your eyes, and how many of us know that? I mean, I don't think anybody really knows that except optometrists, that you could set a binocular quickly. In fact, I think a lot of the newer binoculars eliminate this interocular scale, which can get loose and rotate, and it's kind of useless. So what we want to do is increase the interocular distance if it's too short for our eyes. And we do that because binoculars have hinges. They're meant to rotate around that center shaft. However, if the hinges are too loose, and you notice I put a reddish background here, and need constant adjusting, you need to fix that. I mean, you're in the field. Every time you pick up your binoculars to look through them, you have to adjust that interocular distance. It really is a pain. That's not to be tolerated. And if it's on alone a binocular, and you know that, exchange it for another one. The hinges should be relatively stiff. Once you make the adjustment, you shouldn't have to adjust it again during the field trip. So let's figure out how to adjust this interocular distance. The distance between your eyes actually is called the interpupillary distance. So while looking through your device, your binocular, move the sides around that center shaft. The hinges should give until the distance between the pupils of your eyes equals the distance between the binocular's oculars for a full single image. When you get that single image, you'll know that you've got the right dimensions. Only in cartoons involving binoculars do you see the view viewed through the binoculars represented by two separate circles. That's not what we want. The second thing you want to adjust is a feature of some binoculars, which are called eye cups. And if you have eyeglasses, I'm going to recommend you not use that feature. And we will look at eye relief as well. So eye cups are used to exclude side light going in that may interfere with the image, and help to position your pupils of your eyes at the binocular's eye relief, which we haven't defined yet. But eyeglass users should have eye cups in the retracted position, and if a rubber eye cup folded down. So let me show you this. Here are two binoculars. The one in the upper left has an eye cup that rotates up or down. The actual top of the lens surface doesn't move. The one in the bottom right has this rubber eye cup that you can look through, and you can see it would prevent light from side going in. However, if you wear eyeglasses, you want to push down the eye cup on the binocular in the upper left, and you want to fold down the rubber eye cups down so you're closer to the glass of the ocular. Why do you do that? Well, let me give you a short lesson about binocular pupils. A binocular has two pupils: an entrance pupil where light comes in, equivalent to the area of the objective lens, the first lens, and an exit pupil, those are the eyepieces, which is not equivalent to the area of the ocular lens, especially in prismatic binoculars. And so the exit pupil, as you see in this illustration, is a circle of light leaving the binocular, easily seen when the binocular is held up to the bright light or the sky. So what is this exit pupil? What's important about it? So let me show you a little experiment we do. We put some tracing paper next to the ocular and we start to move it away from the binocular. As you can see, it gets sharper and sharper, that circle of light. And where that exit pupil is sharpest in space is called the eye relief. In fact, is a way of measuring that circle, and it depends upon the size of the objective lens and the power of the binocular. So what you want to do is you want to place your eye's pupil at that place, the maximum light and view area of the binocular's exit pupil, and that is the eye relief distance. But eyeglasses or sunglasses may prevent you from getting to that exit pupil sweet spot. It's not that far above the ocular. For good binoculars that cater to eyeglass users, it's about 15 millimeters or more. But there could be eye relief distance of maybe 5 millimeters. And so your eyeglasses prevent you from getting to that place. And certainly eye cups will only add to the problem. Okay, the last one we want to adjust, which is the most important one, is to adjust for eye differences. These are differences not between people, but between your own eyes, your own right and left eye. So let's take a look at the things that are going to be involved in adjusting this. There is going to be a center focus. It's either a wheel or a lever. We see the oculars on the top. They are sitting on a platform, and the platform moves up and down as you focus with the center focus lever. If you notice, the oculars look different between the right and left. The right one, and when we use terms like right and left, we're using the term with the binocular hanging from your neck with a strap. So the right ocular, which has those ribbed areas for grip, is on the left of this slide, but it is the right ocular, if that's clear. Now, before we look at the adjustment, I want to show you one thing that's going to ruin a good birding day. And that is this area here, which is really a delicate area where the two platforms come together. And it may fail to some extent. So what I want you to do is I want you to take a look at your binocular, the way I just showed you a binocular, and move the platform up and down, the ocular platform, with a center focus wheel and lever, and see whether there's a lag in response on one side. The platform with the oculars should go up and down smoothly, but if one side lags on the other, you have a problem. And the problem is that every time you move the focus wheel up and down, one of those sides is going to be out of focus. And you're going to be fighting it all day, and you'll probably end up with a headache. Now, with some roof prism binoculars, you don't see the oculars moving up and down, but they do that internally. So let's show you how to adjust for eye differences. This is a different binocular, same sort of parts. This has a focus wheel. Here, the oculars look about the same, but the right ocular, the rotating ocular, has a scale on it. The left ocular is non-rotating. And the rotating ocular can rotate quite a bit. Here's an ocular that's right down on the platform. And then we can, I think we probably do this counterclockwise. We rotate it counterclockwise. The scale comes into view, and we can even go a little bit higher than that. So that's what we want to adjust. Here, there's no scale here on the ocular, but it's obvious the right one is going to be the one that's going to turn. You also notice that this is one of my binoculars that I put down the eye cup, and I did it enough times and put it back up that the rubber is starting to degrade. And in fact, in some of my binoculars, because I only use my eyeglasses, I just cut off the top. Now, here's an interesting binocular. This is a roof prism binocular. You can't see the oculars moving up and down. That's the center focus, so where is the adjustment? And in this particular binocular, you move that center focus knob or wheel up. And once you do that, it clicks into the adjustment mode, and you can see the scale on the bottom. Now I'm going to recommend a really good YouTube video on how to adjust binoculars and also how to use them. But I am going to try and describe by words the process. But I would suggest this highly. This is a really good, a good little demonstration. You can pause this to write down its address. So here is Ocular Adjustments, an attempt to explain it to you with words. So first you need to know where the objective lens, the rotatable and non-rotatable oculars are for your particular binocular, and the center focus wheel or lever. You have the binoculars on a strap around your neck, and you locate a sign in the distance, hopefully with lettering, that's probably the best sign, to use for the adjustment process. Now, assuming that the rotatable ocular is on the right of the binocular, on your right side, you place your right hand over the objective entrance of the side of the binocular with a rotatable ocular to exclude light entering that side. So you're blocking light from the right side of your binocular if the ocular there is rotatable. And then still with your right hand over the objective, you turn the center focus wheel lever with your left hand, bringing the sign into focus. It's a little bit awkward, but you can do it. So now we have just focused the left side of the binocular on the sign. Now we're going to focus the right side. And so we're going to start again by placing now your left hand over the objective entrance of the binocular with a non-rotatable side. Remember, we already adjusted this to block light from entering that side. This is a better way of doing it than to just close one of your eyes. And then without moving the center focus wheel and lever or your light blocking left hand, you look at the same sign. It would be stupid to look at a different sign, different distance. Look at the same sign through the unblocked side's rotatable ocular. And now what you want to do with your right hand, assuming that that's where your rotatable ocular is, you want to start turning that to get the sign's letter in focus. And once that's done, you are done. And the view from both oculars should now be in focus on that sign. Now, there are some references I've looked at, which are very interesting, that go it even a step further. There's a Navy reference that advises you to start the adjustment process by extending the oculars and the platform away from the binocular and adjust the focus by moving the eyepieces toward the binocular body during the steps I previously mentioned. And others say very clearly that for the adjustments, use quick movements of the center focus wheel or lever and the rotatable ocular. Avoid slow, fine focusing, since your eye brain can accommodate to unsharp images. Okay. Now, if after adjustment you feel your eye straining while looking through the binocular, another way is that you have now adjusted your binocular, you remove your hand, you look at the sign through your binoculars, you lower the binocular, and you can feel your eyes kind of trying to refocus. It may be out of alignment. You have two telescopes together in a binocular. They have to be looking at the same thing. If on a binocular, get a different one. You'll get a headache with that. There are a number of YouTube videos, including my laboratory, which explains alignment and how to adjust and align binoculars. Now, one last thing, on these field trips, beginning field trips, we might bring along, as I have here, a spotting scope. And spotting scopes alleviate some problems. It's on a tripod. It's fixed on a bird so that everybody will know where that bird is. It eliminates jitter, which is the small movements that shake your binocular when you look through them. But it's something that my docent trainees just didn't seem to want to look at. They were having enough problems with their binoculars not to worry about working with a tripod, working with a zoom lens on the spotting scope, etc. Spotting scopes have small fields of view. Birds easily walk away from that field of view. And there's a certain amount of etiquette because there aren't that many spotting scopes in the group. And people want potentially to see it, at least the ones who want to. And there are all sorts of rules that beginners probably don't know about. And so I recommend highly that you look at my teaching a beginning birding group how to use a spotting scope. So before you go into the field, you'll know what to expect and you won't embarrass yourself. In fact, it will also tell you why some people, when they look through a spotting scope, don't see anything at all. And I can solve that problem. Okay, so finally for beginners, my recommendation is, my experience is that don't get frustrated and give up when you start using binoculars. It takes an effort to do that. It takes muscle memory. And as the New York City pedestrian replied to the musician's question as to how to get to Carnegie Hall, the answer, of course, is practice, practice, practice. So I hope that that will prepare you, either using your own binoculars on that field trip that you're going to go to, or being ready to pick up a loaner pair and be able to adjust it for your own specifications. This has been another JDW Talks. I have YouTube talks on Census Resources Ellis Island. Those are genealogy talks, and about half of the now over 40 YouTube videos are in genealogy topics. The others are on natural history topics, virtual birding field trips, and like this one on birding optics. And I think I'll give you a link to some of the birding optics YouTubes. Go out in the field, enjoy yourself. Take advantage of nature.